Previously on Sex Party.
This is the first day I haven't cried in a long time. I would see the messages with this girl, and she got pregnant. You're just so boring in bed. He basically was just like, I don't find your body attractive, and I don't want to have sex with you. I had a hidden camera in my room. It looks like an alarm clock. I've seen some of the girls that he's hooked up with and that he's brought over for threesomes. And so cuckolding is when I've slept with trans women. Fuck these people. He has 2 phones.
I had a hidden camera in my room. It looks like an alarm clock.
I've now eaten women out or fingered them.
You're just so boring in bed.
I had a hidden camera in my room. It looks like an alarm clock.
Who is the girl he got pregnant? Is it the one that was stalking your Instagram and whatever? And did you find out he got her pregnant after you were broken up, during a break, or...
And now, the conclusion. Sex Party with your host, Dustin Rybka.
Hello and welcome to Sex Party. I'm your host, Dustin Rybka. With me on the show once again is Stephanie Smith. This is part 2. This is the conclusion. So if you've not seen part 1 of Stephanie's episode, go back, watch last week's episode. You'll be very lost. I will say this episode wraps up this installment of the Stephanie Koala saga very nicely, but I think there's going to be some frustration, some frustrated people towards the end of the episode. There's some new questions that pop up. Personally, well, you know what? I won't say what I think. I'll wait for social media. Yeah, fuck it, right? Let's get you guys to the interview. Let's get you guys to the conclusion. I know you can barely wait. So, without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Stephanie Smith.
This week's conversation.
Okay, so the pregnancy, I knew something suspicious was happening because I was actively going through his watch and everything. And he had this girl in his phone as his best friend. Because I was like, oh, that's weird that there's 2 of this kid's name. Like, that's weird. So obviously I start going through the messages and I start figuring it out. So then I go on white pages, I Google the number, find out her name, stalk her from there, and blah, 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 blah. She wasn't the girl that was stalking me on Instagram, though. This was a completely different girl, amongst all the other ones that used to stalk me too. But yeah, the girl who got pregnant, she was someone that he was seeing, like, I don't know, like, I think it was probably like a year ago that they had like hooked up, and then he would block her, and then he would try to hook up with her again and unblock her. And he kept leading her on, like, from the text messages that I would see, because she was closer to my age. I think she was maybe like 2 years younger than me. And so she was looking for like an actual relationship. So he kept lying to her saying, oh yeah, like, I want a relationship too. And like, let's give this a shot and all this stuff, because he was trying to string her along to get as much sex out of her as he could. So I knew something suspicious was going on just because he is not a very good liar. So I can immediately tell when his behavior changed. And that's what always would lead me to be like, okay, I need to look at the camera today. I need to go through his watch when he is not looking, or through his shit when he's not home, you know? So like, that's where all of that kind of shit would happen. So something weird was happening at one point, and I was like, I know that there's some, like, he's trying to hook up with someone. So went through his watch, found this, that he was talking to this girl, kind of let it go for a bit because he was being a little cold to her. And like, she had called him out on it, being like, oh, you're not giving me the time of day and this and that. And it was funny kind of watching him make the excuses.
This is all during your relationship.
Yeah, this was like when I text you. So I was like 2 or 3 months ago, or 1 or 2 months ago. I don't know. It was that time. That was because when I was like, oh my God, I have the craziest story for you. That's when I found it. It was the day after I found out that she was pregnant. So I see the messages from her saying that I knew the last time they hooked up, because he had told me, he was like, I'm going out to like hook up. And I was like, okay, like whatever. So he comes home, we get into a fight that night. because he had been gone for like 5 hours. That was another thing that I had a problem with. I was like, you're literally going to have sex with these people and then you're gone for like 5 hours or wanting to stay the night. And I was like, I'm never going to be okay with that. I was like, I don't know who would be like in a normal like relationship, but whatever. So I see the messages from her with the pregnancy test picture being like, we're pregnant, or I'm pregnant. It's good to know that we're fertile. She's saying like we're like they're fucking married. And I'm like, oh my God. So I find out that night, like whatever, going through his messages. The next day I text Koala bringing this up because I was like, do you have any news that you want to share with me? And he is like, you're the one that's being weird. Why don't you tell me? And I said, oh, well, I heard little Miss So-and-so is pregnant. So let's just talk about that. So then that went on for days of like us, like kind of like trying to like talk through that and everything, deciding what we were like going to do, like if he's moving out or, whatever. And, yeah, like it was just, I mean, it was a nightmare. Like the whole thing sucked. Like we decided to take a break and he was like, I knew that this pregnancy was going to like end this relationship. And I'm like, well, like, obviously, like, what do you mean? Like, like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, you literally got another girl pregnant and she's saying we're fertile. Like, like this relationship is like over, you know what I mean? So we decide that we're going to be, in separate rooms, whatever. And obviously it's just like when you're with someone and, you're comfortable with them, whatever, it's like you fall back into it. So we kind of fell back into it and we got into a little bit of an argument because he was like, I just don't know why you can't sleep in the same room with me and da-da-da-da-da. Like, it was just like, I don't know. So we started sleeping in the same room again because like he was kind of leading me to believe that he was going to start sleeping with me again, and like having sex or trying to have sex like semi-regularly, That didn't happen, obviously. And then, the straw that broke the camel's back was like the fight that we got into about the other girl stalking me. And I just kept bringing up over and over again. And I was like, I do not understand how to make you understand. Like, I don't know how I can make you understand what I'm asking for. I was like, you're just trying to fuck these people. And I said, there's a difference between just fucking someone and then making love to someone. And I said, I want both. Okay. I said, I want you to be able to like make love to me and like have passion and be connected and like all of that stuff. But I also want to have raunchy, crazy sex with you sometimes. So I said, I'm not trying to like put you in this one little bucket. Like, I was like, I'm just asking for all aspects of it. I was like, I have 2 drawers in my nightstand of sex toys like that we haven't even touched. He's like, well, I'm not into BDSM because he doesn't really get it. Like, he doesn't get the game of BDSM with like the power play and who's in control. Like, he just thinks that like being a dom is just having like rough sex. And that's not it. Like, we all know that there's so much more to that. And I think part of that has to do with his age or just like his lack of education in that area. Cause like, obviously they don't teach you that in school. And like a lot of people are ill-informed about like the whole BDSM world. But I tried to explain to him, I said, it's not just rough sex or hurting someone or whatever. Cause he had said to me a couple times, he was like, I don't want to hurt you. And I'm like, what do you like? You're not like, I'm the one that's in power, like if I'm the sub, I'm the one that's sitting there saying, Red, I don't want to do this anymore. I said, I have the control of the situation, not you really. And he just couldn't wrap his head around that. But when I thought about it down the road, what my therapist had said about the Madonna horror complex, I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. If he doesn't want to like defile and hurt me, like in, maybe not just a physical way, but like an emotional, like degrading kind of way. I was like, then maybe that's something that like he doesn't want to take, to that point. And it's like, okay, I get it. But it's like, then don't sit there and blame my body for it. You know what I mean? Like if there's other issues on why you can't have sex with me, that's okay. We can work through it, but don't sit there and say, oh, well, your body's disgusting or whatever the case is, or I'm boring, or, I mean, I was like, sir, I literally had a man ask to eat buffalo chicken mac and cheese out of my butthole, and I probably would have let him. Like, I don't think I'm boring, like at all. Not to toot my own horn, but like toot, So,
Okay. All right. Hang on. Let me catch the audience up. Okay. First of all, someone asked to eat buffalo mac and cheese out of your asshole.
Yeah, I don't think I ever mentioned it on your show. I mentioned it on my show before. This guy, he was like this random hookup. I had made dinner, which was buffalo chicken mac and cheese, and we ended up having sex like 4 times when he was over. And he was a yacht captain, so he was just like never really around. And he was just like he had said something else earlier in the night just to like see if like I would react, and I just kind of laughed it off because I was like, whatever. Like people say crazy shit all the time. So then he had said it to me again, like said this part to like see how I would react. He's like, I want to eat some of this mac and cheese out of your asshole. And I was like, okay. I was like, it's your mouth. Like, that's literally what my response was. I was like, it's your mouth. Like, I don't care. And he was just like, oh my God. He's like, you really would do it. And I was like, I would just be sitting there. I don't really care. Like, if you want to eat out of mac and cheese out of my ass, then by all means, like, like it's not going to do anything for me, but yeah, if that's the route you want to go, then go for it. So that's why, like, when I said to him about when he brought up the fact that I was boring, I was like, what the fuck? So then I brought it up later. It was like a day or two later. And I said something. I was like, sorry, I'm so boring. And he was like, I was just saying that just like how you say fucked up things. Like, he was like, I didn't mean it. I don't think you're boring in bed, you know? And I was like, well, obviously you do because you don't fuck me. So like, obviously I'm the most boring, but you know, sorry.
Well, I mean, how could he think you were boring if you're the one who's trying to have threesomes with like other like men and do BDSM and you're open to him doing all these things? How could he ever think you were boring?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think he really meant it. I mean, I know I'm not boring and I don't really care. Like,
No.
I mean, I think part of it too, again, like I said, like, you know, in the beginning, you know, he's more of a private person. Like him and I are polar opposites where I come on podcasts, my podcast, your podcast, whoever's, and share all my dirty laundry and all my shit. And for him, like he made it very clear. He was like, I don't like the fact that you're going to be talking about like our relationship. And I was like, look, I said, the listeners don't know who you are, like unless they know me, you personally, and then they personally know you and they already know the drama. And I said, I was like, look, like I was like, at the end of the day, like, you know, I was like, we're always going to be different in that regard. I always would try to get him on the podcast and he never wanted to. And then it was just, he would vocalize how he just didn't want things out there or he didn't think that it was necessary for me to share things. And I said, look, the reason the podcast does well or did well when I was actively doing it was because it's relatable content. And I said, people can, you know, either relate to it or it's authentic and they want to hear more about it or they know someone who's going through something similar. So I said, I like to talk and I like to share stories and, you know, talk about myself and my experiences and whatever. And I said, I get that you don't, but I said, you thrive in secrecy. And I said, that's also why you like to sneak around and do things secretive when it comes to sex and all this shit. I said, are you connecting the dots here? Because I said, there's a lot of dots to be connected. And I was like, I told him he should go to therapy. He is not wanting to do that at this time. But I said to him, I was like, look, I said, I don't think that we'll ever get back together if you don't start doing the work on yourself to connect some of these dots. Because I said, some of the stuff you're saying is very surface level and some of it is probably a little bit deeper than what it really is. So I said to him, I was like, I don't think we can get back together, you know, until you start doing the work. And then we would do couples therapy. Because I said, I definitely would not entertain this with that. But at this point, I think it's just, I told him like a couple of nights ago after our big fight from me going out, getting drunk with my friend, like, I was like, I just feel like so much has been done that it's not repairable. You know, I said, I literally told you I had a hidden camera in my house for years and you had no idea. I was like, how do I come back from that for you? And I was like, I can't unforget all of the things that you've said to me about my body and this and that, yeah. You know? So I was like, I just don't really, you know, I was like, I just don't really see where this is going beyond this, you know, but.
Yeah. I mean, there's too much venom. I think you said venomous earlier. There's just too much venom, like in your blood, in his blood. Like the whole fucking thing is just full of poison. And so like that, that's so like, you don't need that. First of all, and second of all, it doesn't matter like toxic this, toxic that, like toxic begets toxic. So if someone's lying to you and someone else is capable of like finding those lies, like of course it's going to be an ever evolving thing. Like I've been in relationships where, you know, people do target my insecurities or, you know, I do become avoidant or whatever. And so it just like, it steamrolls itself. And next thing you know, you're rolling down a hill and it's like, wait a minute, we started this big. Now it's giant, all these problems, whatever. So I think you're right.
I literally said to him so many times in the last like 2 months, I was like, I do not know how we got here. And I said, it makes me so sad because I said it was never just one thing. I said it was always us either being tit for tat or being spiteful or blowing things out of proportion, or I was picking fights over things that he didn't know that I was picking fights over. And I said, there was so many gray areas and so many things. I said, I didn't set boundaries. I said, I taught you how to love me wrong. I said, I'm holding myself accountable for what I can hold myself accountable for, you know? And I said, I just don't know how to fix this at this point because I said, there's so much that's been done and so much that's been said. And I think honestly, the nail in the coffin for me was like, he had said at one point after we broke up, so this was like probably like 2 weeks ago, he was like, we were sitting outside and he was like, I think I made a mistake. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And he was like, I don't.
Which one?
Well, about breaking up. So, and I was just like,
sure.
Well, right. I'm like, okay, well, like, what do you mean? And he was like, I don't know. He was like, I feel like, you know, we can fix this or whatever. Was like the tone. And I said to him, I was like, all right, I'm going to give you a hypothetical. Okay. I was like, I got the surgery, my bariatric surgery before I met you. And I said, when I made that appointment to get the bariatric surgery, I knew at that point in time, I was going to get plastic surgery. So I said, you met me when I was on the tail end. I had to lose like 50, 75 more pounds, whatever. And then now I'm at my weight that I'm at now. And I said, I've always talked about the surgery. And because it's like the surgery is going to be like $100,000 for all the surgeries I need, you know, it's a lot of money, you know, and it's a lot of time off and I have to spread it out. And it's like, I'm just not in the financial place to do it or the, you know, with work and everything, like I just don't have the time to do it. So I said to him, I said, you said to me at one point, oh, if you just had the surgery, we wouldn't have any problems in our relationship, which we all know is bullshit, but that was his thought process. So I said to him 2 weeks ago, I said, okay, you're saying now that we made a mistake or you made a mistake in breaking up with me. I said, what if I just choose not to get the surgery now? You know, I said, what if we break up, my self-esteem goes back up. I start dating other people. They don't care about my body, or I just accept my body for what it is. And I decide not to fix it. I said, would you stick around? And he was like, I don't think so. And I said, there you go. I said, then you did not make a mistake and you don't need to be in a relationship with me. You know, I mean, like, to me, that is like the final nail in the coffin. You know, I was just like, and I said to him at one point, I was like, well, why do you even deserve my body once I spend the money on it? Like, you know what I mean? I was like, why do you deserve it? Like, and get the benefits of having like a beautiful body. I was like, my personality is still the same. I said, the difference is, I said, you don't love me. I said, you like the things I do for you and the comfort that you have with me. And I said, you like the fact that like, you can share things with me that you've never been able to share with people. But I said, look at how long it took me to get some of those things out of you when I already knew the truth. And you knew deep down that I wasn't going to abandon you or leave you or break up with you because of various things, you know? And I was like, it's just really hurtful because I said, if you were 400 pounds, like I said, say you ballooned up and gained 400 pounds in the next year, or lost a limb, or went blind, or bald, or whatever. I said, I wouldn't give a shit. But I said, you helped me get to this point because, you know, he helped me work out and, you know, lose the last of my weight. So I said, you literally helped me get to this point, and now my body's not good enough. And I was like, that's what you like, that's the cross you're dying on. I can't have sex with you because your body's disgusting, even though I helped you get there and lose the last of your weight, but you're not attractive enough. I'm just like, you know, so that's why I was just like, you know what, like, it's been really hard. And I've cried a lot the last couple of days because it's like, it's easy to get in your own feelings and be like, well, why am I not enough? You know, and I've said that to him so many times. I'm like, I just wish I was enough for you. You know, I was like, you've always been enough for me, but I can never be enough for you, you know? And it's just, it's a hard pill to swallow, and it's, you know, it sucks. It really sucks, but that's just the reality of like where I'm at. So yeah, it's been crazy. It's been a crazy, like, you know, year and a half, but like, especially the last couple months have been like insane because it's just escalated, you know, way more in the last couple months, than it has, you know.
Yeah. Of course. Well, I mean, if all of these things were building and building and building and building and building and building the last like 2 years almost. And so of course there was going to be some fucking crescendo and it wasn't going to be healthy or peaceful. Of course it was going to be violent and terrible and whatever. And I don't mean like physical violence, but like emotional violence. Hurts just the same sometimes and like whatever. And second of all, like, fuck this guy. Like you already know that you are enough. You already know with your 3,700 fucking Bumble match, like you're going to get back out there and you're going to fucking rock and roll and you're going to be fucking fine. And, you know, you don't have to, and you said it yourself already, like you might just get out there and be having a good time and not need to do anything with your body. And it's your body. Obviously you do what you want, but like you should only do something with your body if it makes you feel good. Fuck these other people, man. Especially him.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the plastic surgery thing is something I've always wanted. And that's not, you know, dependent on any guy or him or whatever. Like, I had made that decision prior to even meeting Koala. So, like, that's, you know, it's something I want to do for myself and I've always wanted to do. And, you know, it just is what it is. It's just unfortunate that, like, because I didn't get it soon enough that, like, I mean, granted, the problems that we had would have always been problems. And that's what I said to him, too. I said, look, even if I got this surgery tomorrow and got everything done, I won the lotto, could pay for it, have the time off of work, all this stuff. I said, you still are going to look for someone new. Okay. I said, my body will eventually be old news, even if it's a 10 out of 10, 12 out of 10. I said, I don't care. I said, it's going to be boring and old news at some point, and you're going to want to find someone else to have sex with. And I said, that's just the reality of it. So I said, me getting this surgery I said, you literally have the fate of our relationship in my hands because of me not getting surgery. I said, that's what you're literally telling me. And I said, do you realize how much pressure that is on me? Not only dealing with all the other stuff, like, I mean, I'm still finishing up my DUI bullshit. I have another lawsuit going on. Like, I have all of these things in my life that are like, my life has not been easy the last year. In addition to all of this shit, which he's seen me firsthand, hysterically crying over all of the stuff that I've dealt with, from, you know, the repercussions of my bad actions, you know, and he can't even give me a break. And I'm just like, what the fuck, you know, like it sucks. So yeah, I said to him, I was like, that's a lot of pressure to have on me about, like, oh, the fate of our relationship is weighing in your hands of whether you get the surgery or not. And, you know, for me, like I said, I've always wanted to do it for myself, and I plan on doing it when I can have the time and, you know, get the money saved and all that stuff. But I said to him, in the meantime, like, it is what it is. And like all my friends that know the situation and like know my past, they're all like, he is not ready for the amount of people that are going to be going in and out of your door, especially considering you're bitter now and angry and you haven't had like proper sex in a really long time. They were like, I think there's like 3 or 4 people in my circle that are like, I give him 2 months to move out because of the fact that like, he's not going to be okay with like you bringing people over. So like for him, like he's hooked up with people since we've been broken up, but he hasn't brought anyone home. So, but it's different because I own my condo. Like it's my place, you know? So it's like for him, I feel like he tries to keep it separate, but for me, I'm like, whatever, I live here. Like, I don't give a shit if a guy comes, you know? So we'll see how that all kind of plays out.
Yeah.
I don't know. Actually, there's this one guy that I was like, I met him on Bumble when Koala and I were still dating. It was when we were just on for like, when we were doing the open relationship thing, but still looking for threesomes and stuff. And I had connected with this guy, and he ended up moving back went to school in Boca, and he lived in Tampa. So he actually wants to come and spend like the weekend with me soon. So I was like, oh, that's going to be a fun couple days. So we'll see how that plays out, because obviously it's not going to just be like him coming and going and like that. Like it's going to be like a couple days. So
of
stay tuned
course,
for all that drama, because there's definitely obviously going to be way more drama than what I just told you.
Yeah, no, I think so, but I think that's a good strategy to like just blow it out. Just have like a revolving door of women and men like coming into your apartment just for you, and then eventually, like fuck, I give him 2 weeks of that before he's fucking on to the next one. A loose end that we need to wrap up here right before, because I want to talk more about what I just said, but a loose end that we need to wrap up here is like, what's up with the baby? Did she have an abortion? Is she fucking?
Oh, she did. Yeah, she did. Yeah. She had an abortion. So they, and there were conversations and whatnot from what I was able to see via text and everything. I guess she just happened to have like an abortion pill laying around, which I thought was kind of odd, but like she had, had one laying around. She did the abortion. From my understanding, he kept in contact with her to like make sure she followed through with it. And then as far as I know, they don't talk anymore because I think, again, he was leading her to believe in the beginning from what I saw from the snooping. Obviously, I don't have all the sides of the stories. But from my understanding was that he was trying to lead her on thinking that like they would eventually be in a relationship. And then I think she kind of pieced it together, realizing that that was never the case. And, and then now they don't talk from my understanding. I don't have access to any of his stuff anymore, obviously. So I can't double check on that. But yeah, he says that he hasn't talked to her basically since it happened. So.
Okay, so I have like some questions. Obviously, I feel like the audience probably has a ton of questions. So you guys break up, and then at what point are you like, "Hey, you can stay. I'll drop a lease agreement. You can rent the fucking bedroom next door, right? Like or whatever, like the guest room or whatever." And like, why? Okay, because like after that, I think we should talk about. You bring in the party to your bedroom and running him out.
Okay. So the way that I think I actually missed one of the fights that we had. So I mentioned the girl that was stalking my profile. So that happened. We got into an argument or a fight about that. Then a couple days later, we had kind of like squashed that. It was just whatever. It was what it was. Then I had made dinner one night and we were on a break at this point after this girl stalking me. And I had said to him, "Oh, I have extra, I made food. If you want some, you're more than welcome to have, leftovers because obviously with my surgery, I don't eat a lot. So there's always leftovers." So I said to him, if you want to eat dinner with me, there's that, the food there. If not, fine. So he's like, "No, I'll sit down with you." So we sit down, eat dinner. It was a very nice dinner. And all of a sudden, he starts like getting ready to go to the gym. And I was like, well, that's out of character for him. Like if he always goes to the gym at night, but he doesn't eat before he goes. So I was like, what the fuck? So he's like, okay. He's like, yeah. I was like, are you really going to the gym right now? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, you never go to the gym after you eat a full meal like that. And he was like, well, I'm just going to go. And I'm like, you're going like that? So he had put a tank top on, but he had his work pants on and the shoes that now the work pants, they weren't like, it wasn't like tuxedo pants or like a suit pant, but it was like pants that he wears to work and they weren't workout pants. And the same shoes that he had on, again, shoes he would never wear to the gym. So I'm just like, spidey senses going off, red flags. I'm like, what's going on? And so I'm sitting there waiting like for him to kind of like share what he's doing. I go back, I'm sitting in the living room watching on the camera and I see him kind of moseying around in the room doing weird things. And the camera, I mean, it's not like a fucking, FBI camera. It's a fucking shitty alarm clock. You know what I mean? It's like, I only have so much, like clarity on this camera. So I see him doing weird shit. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. So I get up and I see him with a sweatshirt that he takes to the gym with him. And I see him have it's like perfectly folded and it's wrapped around something. Mm. So I'm like, immediately I'm thinking like, oh, did he take condoms from my nightstand? Did he take like lube or like a sex toy or like, you know what I mean? Like I'm thinking it's something along those lines. So I pick a fight with him, obviously, because I'm already like, I know you're not telling the truth about going to the gym. So he immediately is just denying everything and just shuts down. Isn't even arguing with me, not even telling me lies, not telling me the truth, is just like, I'm not telling you. Like, it's not your right to know. And I'm like, no, it is my right to know when you live in my house and you're lying about where you're going and we're in a relationship. Like, I don't lie to you about where I'm going. So like, I deserve the same respect. So finally his like the sweatshirt comes undone a little bit and it's like a t-shirt in there. And he's like, it's just a t-shirt for a change of clothes. And I was like, well, why do you need a change of clothes? And I was like, I know you're not going to the gym. I know you're going on a fucking date to fuck one of these girls, whether it's the girl that was stalking me or another one of the girls that you just recently followed. And I start rattling off the names because thank God Instagram made it back to chronological order of when you follow people. So then you can actually, to all the ladies who don't know that, you can stalk any guy or girl, whoever, and see who they've recently followed. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, so like you're either going on a date with one of these 5 girls that you just followed or you're lying about something, whatever. And he's like, I'm not telling you the truth. Like, I'm not telling you where I'm going. And I just like, I remember like losing my shit. Like, I just was like, I felt it was like an outer body experience because I was just so angry because I was like, I know you're lying. So at that point, I was just like, if you leave this house and do not tell me where the fuck you're going, I said, we're done. Like, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore and feeling this way. Cause I was like, I feel like I'm unhinged and I feel like I'm fucking crazy. And I don't like feeling this way. I literally said to a friend the other day, I was like, sobbing. I was like, I do not know who I am right now. Like, I was like, I was like, the fact that I'm sitting here stalking cameras, going through all his shit, you know, going through his bags, his stuff. I was like, this is crazy. I said, I've lost my fucking mind. And I said, I hate that he's made me like so insecure that I feel this way. And I said, like, look, like his actions, like, or like what he says doesn't make me like, it shouldn't make me react this way, but I said it is. And I said, that's why I need to like remove myself from the situation. Cause I said, this isn't healthy and this is not normal behavior. Like no one should be going through their partner's stuff and hacking into their phones and messaging girls that are stalking. Like, it's just, I was like, this is not me. Like, this is crazy. This is everything opposite of what I've talked about on the podcast, my podcast from like day one. So I said to him, I said, you know what? I said, all your shit is going to be moved out. I said, you can move into the spare room and pay rent. I said, I'm not doing this anymore. So that was like the point where it was like the straw broke the camel's back. When we initially wanted to do the break back when this girl got pregnant, however many months ago, I had started to make a lease agreement, but I never gave it to him, you know, because I was like, all right, like it didn't feel final at that point. Like we've gotten into so many fights and we've always worked them out. So I just, in the back of my head was just kind of like, this break doesn't feel final. Like I feel like we'll just end up going to couples therapy, start working through stuff, and then it's going to be fine. Couples therapy never happened. And obviously, you know, nothing is fine because we were broken up. But, so that night I, finalized the lease agreement when he left, and I started to move some of the stuff into the spare room. And then I forget exactly what happened. I don't know if it was that night that he didn't come home or if it was the following night. I think it was the following night that he didn't come home. And I was like, I woke up the next morning and he wasn't to be found. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. So I packed up the rest of the shit that he had in my room and literally just chucked it onto the bed in the spare room and was just like, have at it. And I emailed him an e-signature request for the lease agreement, and he ended up signing it a couple days later. Cause I told him, I said, like, look, like the lease agreement was very reasonable. Like the price that he's paying is probably a quarter of what he would pay, in a normal situation. So it's like, I was cognizant of that, of like, okay, he's just getting on his feet. He's only 23 and has like never really paid bills before. And never had to like really buy food and like do his own laundry and all that stuff. So I was very cognizant of like all of those things. And I just made sure everything was in writing, that it was fair for both of us. And I was like, if you have any problems with it, I said, we can discuss it. But I said, I'm most likely not going to change the lease agreement. So I said, you either can agree to this or you can move the fuck out, and I was like, I said, I'm not even putting an end date on it. I said, if I am asking you to leave, I will give you 60 days with notice. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was very fair overall. So that was just kind of like, that was it. I was just like, you know what, I'm done. Like, you can't even tell me the truth about like where you're going. Like, cause I said to him too, cause I was paying for his gym membership. And I was like, so if I call all the people I know at the gym, cause they all love me there. And I was like, so if I call them and ask, like, when you scan in. I said, are they going to tell me that you scanned in tonight? And he just kind of looked at me, and I was like, right. Because I said, you're not going to the fucking gym. And he's like, well, you always fall asleep early anyway. You were going to be asleep. I was, going to try to hang out with one of my 2 friends that was asking me to hang out. And I said, I've always encouraged you to hang out with your friends. So I said, why the secret now? You know what I mean? I said, why are you going to hide this and then have this fight? He's like, you're just being unreasonable. And I said, no, I'm not being unreasonable. I said, I'm asking you where the fuck you're going, because you're going to the gym in your work outfit and bringing a change of clothes with you. I said, obviously I'm going to think that you're going to fuck someone. Okay. Cause I'm not fucking stupid. So that was like the straw that broke the camel's back with the actual lease. Mm-hmm. So it was like 2 days back to back of that. And I threw all his shit in the spare room and then gave him the lease agreement, and he signed it like a week later. So,
well, I totally thought that the twist was going to be that inside the sweatshirt was like the food that you had made or something. He was like taking your food to like some other woman or something.
Honestly, I didn't even think of that, but that could have been. If I hadn't had the camera and saw him in my room. Yeah. Hiding something, because I was like, I couldn't see what he was hiding, and I was like, why are you even bringing a dirty shirt? I was like, I literally don't understand. Like, right, I'm like, sure. This is crazy.
That's wild. So how long has the lease agreement been in place?
It has been in place for about a month now. So I waived like the first month of rent for him. Like, he signed it, but he's not due to pay like the first month until like now it's November, because I had like so much shit to clear out in that, like the spare room, like in the closet. I was like, this isn't livable. Like, it wasn't livable. So I was like, it's not fair to be like, okay, you're paying me rent in a non-livable room. So I cleared out everything I needed to clear out. I was like, I'm going to give myself a month to clean out what I need to and put stuff in storage and move animals around and all that stuff. Sure. And then I was like, then you can start, paying once everything is in a more civil kind of, livable spot.
So, I mean, so you're broken up. He's renting a room. Like, have you guys, like, what is it like? Are you guys like still having meals together? Are you still fighting over shit? Has he brought other women around?
So he has not brought any women over. I know he has hooked up with women, obviously, since we've been broken up, but he has gone to them, or just like been talking to them or whatever. As far as like, what were the other questions? Sorry, my Adderall's starting to wear off.
Like, what is it? What is the situation?
The dynamic.
Yeah, like, because he's renting a room and like,
Yeah. It's weird. It's just weird. I mean, there's days where it's great and other days it's not. Like, there was definitely like a week where I was probably hysterical every day, because I would come home and like, if he was home, his door would be completely closed, or I just wasn't sure how to, like, it just was weird. You know what I mean? Because I think part of me was feeling very butthurt because I had the upper hand in this entire relationship and could have ended it and kicked him out because it's my condo and all of these things. And I just let it go. And then he pulled out the rug from underneath me and was like, I don't want to date you anymore. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? So I think it was like partially that, where I was just like not processing the fact that I didn't like get the nail in the coffin to say we're over. So yeah, there was definitely days where it was really rough because it was just awkward between both of us. But then like last night I was watching TV and he came down and like, he came and sat on the couch with me and was like rubbing my feet and like wanting to like kind of hang out. And I was just like, what is even happening? So, and then he's talking to me last night. Oh, well, like, what are we doing like for Thanksgiving? And I'm just like, I don't know, like nothing. Like, I was just like,
I'm your landlord, bro.
Yeah. Like, I was just like, what's your family doing? And he was like, well, I don't know. And like, he's like, I kind of just want to hang here. And I said, you can. I said, my family, like, I don't know what we're doing, but I was like, I'm going to see my family. So I was like, I'm going to see you at some point because we live together. So like, obviously there's that, but I was like, the plans of like an us for Thanksgiving are kind of like seen their day. So, I said to him, I was like, I just like, don't really, like that's just like the gray area stuff where it's like, like there are times where it's like, oh, like, cause we're still splitting the food for the animals and like, we still have shared groceries and, so we're still working through that kind of stuff. like I alluded to in the beginning of the episode or earlier on in the episode, I went out with one of my girlfriends on Friday and I got very drunk, and because it was the first time I had like been out in a long time. And I was picking a fight with him because I had texted him that she was coming over, and he knows her. He's, met her before. She was actually a threesome. We met her as a threesome, and then her and I had become like kind of best friends. And she was like, she's currently not working. So she FaceTimes me all the time in the morning. So she would see me every morning since all of this stuff has been going down, crying and just, not being myself. So she was like, I'm going to come up there. She lives, probably like an hour from me. So she's like, I'm going to come up there and we're going to go out. So I'm like, all right. So I text him to let him know, hey, she's coming over. We're going to go out and probably, she's going to stay the night, whatever. So he's like, okay, fine. So he comes home, we say our hellos, whatever. And then he, like an hour or two later, comes into my room and he's like, all right, I'm going out. I'll see you later. So of course I know he's going out to hook up with someone. So I'm like, mentally, I'm not already in a great place before I'm going out with my girlfriend. So I call her, she's like almost at my house. And I was like, you're never going to believe where he's going. I was like, he's going out to fuck someone. And she's like, well, fuck it. We're going to make out with everybody, and I'm like, okay, like, fine. So we go out, we start drinking. I'm not obviously in the right mindset. We get home, he's already home, and I just start picking fight with him. Like, just every single thing he was saying, I was just trying to pick a fight, and I just was not nice. And I unleashed about the camera. I was like, well, I've been watching you for months on the camera. I know you're a fucking liar. I was like, just saying the craziest shit. And my friend, to the point where she was like literally like dragging me in my room. She's like, you need to stop. Like, she's like, there's no coming back from this. Like, you need to stop. So I ended up having to apologize to him the next day because I was just like, because I was trying to kick him out, and he was like, as a tenant, like, how am I, like, what did I do wrong? And at the time, because I was so drunk, I just was, just being a fucking bitch. So I had to say to him, like, please ignore what I said. That was very like, like unprofessional and like whatever, as your like landlord, I was like, please ignore it. I said, I was just very bitter and upset, so yeah, it's definitely there's been some growing pains and there's been some awkward moments, but I mean, I feel like everything has been an awkward moment with us. So I feel like, every time him and I get into a fight, like I get very I get very hard on myself because I'm just like, oh, I took it too far. Cause like, I know how I am. So it's like, when I get to a point where it's like, I take it too far, then I feel guilty about it. And I'm just like, I'm always trying to apologize, but like, he just kind of like moves on. Whereas like me, I constantly think about it all day or every day. I'm just like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. Or I feel shitty that I did that. And he's just like, once we talk through it, he's like, all right, I'm on to the next situation. Like, I don't need to like keep living in the past, because he says that to me all the time. He's like, you always live in the past. And I'm like, it's not just like living in the past. It's like, I find like behavioral things, that like, it's like I try to find the common denominator, basically, to see if it's like a me thing, a him thing, a situation thing, whatever.
Well, okay. I mean, how long is the lease agreement for?
So there isn't an end date on it. So basically, he can leave at any time, as long as he gives me notice, for our animals and shared things. And then if I want him to leave, I can give him 60 days notice. Okay. So there is no end date at this time. My friends are giving it 2 months because they're just like, once you start sleeping around and bringing guys over and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm headed with this. So like, how long do you think this is? I mean, this is unhealthy as fuck. You can't like keep seeing. I mean, don't you think that you would feel so much better if you woke up and knew he was gone? You're like, oh, wow.
Well, my therapist literally said to me last week, she was like, he needs to go. And I was like, I know. I was like, look, I said, he doesn't really have a place to go, like whatever. And she's like, she literally shrugged her shoulders and was like, that's not your problem.
No, it's not your problem. And he can go live with a fucking...
I'm making my problem because it's like, I have feelings for him and I care about him. And it's like, I just always, like, even if people do me wrong, that's the thing. It's like, if I still have love for them at that point, then I don't want to give them, like, I don't want to like hurt them more. You know what I mean? So it's like, once the love is gone, then it's a different situation, but it's like the love is still there. So it's like, I don't want to just like, just Like,
yowzers. I mean, it's okay. And be honest. Do you see any way that you will end up like back with this guy in a romantic relationship?
I don't think so. I think if anything, it would just be like friendship or like just kind of like coexisting how we are now. You know what I mean? Like, I think we just both I think it was a learn for both of us. I think we both have our issues, and like, that was one thing I said to him, like when I was talking about the podcast, I was just like, look, like, I'm not going to be like some angel in this story either. Like, I literally have done and said fucked up shit too. So it's like, I think it was a learn for both of us. And I think we both have to like heal and do our own thing and all of this stuff. And that's fine. It's like some people are supposed to be a lesson. I think that's like essentially what, we were. It's like, I still have so much love for him and I still do care about him, and that was, I think, part of the reason why in the beginning, I always was like, are you sure you don't want to just be friends? Because I just I do see the good in him. I do see the potential in him. I do, that's what kept me hanging on for a long time, but, obviously it just was bad timing for both of us. And what's actually really funny, I was talking to my hairstylist about this. So she's an astrologer and, it was funny because the whole eclipse season, I don't know if you've seen all the TikToks or if you follow astrology or whatever, but eclipse season is over. So they were saying, a lot of these astrologers that I follow were like, oh, think back to where you were in November of 2021. Whatever was happening at that point in time with the end of the eclipse season that just happened a couple weeks ago, that whatever was happening starting in November of 2021 until that point is now no longer in your life. If the people that aren't in your life from that point till now, they weren't meant to be. And I was like, oh my God, him and I met at the very end of November 2021. And we broke up the week of the eclipse season ending. So regardless if you are into astrology or not, sure. I was like, well, that's kind of like an extra little bonus of all right, you're on the right path. So, I mean, he's still part of my life. So I think it just means it's we're not meant to be romantic together. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he just needs to, I think he just has his own struggles and has to figure shit out. I mean, we are 13 years difference. And I know I've said on the podcast, yours and mine before, that maturity and life experience don't always have to come with age. And I stand by that. But I think for him, it's different. I think there are things where it's he just doesn't have the life experience or the knowledge that some other guys that I've hooked up with that are his age have dealt with, and that's okay. But it's I also have to be the bigger person and the adult in the situation and be okay, this isn't just so personal. It's hard not to take a lot of this personal, but I know that there's something deeper. And I think that's part of the reason why I let things go for so long, because I was all right, because he would just get so upset, all the time. He'd always be you're mine. I don't want anyone else to have you. And so it's when you hear those things repeatedly for months, you're okay, well, obviously he does love me and have feelings for me and doesn't want me to sleep with other people and all of these things. So the feelings are there, but it's there's obviously something that's the wires are crossed in some way, and it's the communication and what we were trying to force a round peg in a square hole, he hadn't done the work on himself to figure out some of the issues that were probably deeper than he even realizes. And that, again, that's okay. But it's I think he needs to do the work on himself and then, hopefully he'll have a better next relationship, and
who cares? I mean, this fucking guy, man, honestly, so, okay, what is the move? Are we going to open it up and really start bringing these 3,700 fucking Bumble peeps through men, women, fucking pirates, Carnival employees, whatever, Carnival Cruise employees? Are we going to start bringing all these people through and partying and going out more and just to drive him out or just see what happens? Because honestly, if you do that, I just don't think, and you don't even have to do that. You could just be listen, 60 days, bro, out. Right. And I know you won't, because you're just too nice and all of the things. Right. But
that's told me that this week that I'm too nice.
You are. So are we going to open it up so you can finally get some sexual fucking satisfaction. And then also at the same time, maybe he's like, I can't take this. I just hear pounding all night. I'm out.
I mean, realistically, I mean, the goal isn't for me to just like be slutty just to be slutty. Like, it's like if I'm, I mean, look, I have like lost time to make up for essentially. And like, I have a high sex drive and I like sex and, I'm starting to get back into podcasting and all that stuff. So obviously I also need content. So it's kind of a perfect storm. I mean, my goal isn't just to keep bringing people over just to get him to like leave. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like, that's one thing. It's like, I don't want him to feel bad and shitty about himself. It's like, because it's like for me, I'm in therapy. I know how to process that stuff. He doesn't. And like, so it's like, I'm always, again, too nice maybe. And I'm cognizant of that kind of like mental health stuff. So,
all he's done though is made you feel bad about yourself and your body. And
I know, but it's like, I'm just not that like when I'm in a fight or when I'm mad with people, then that's when I'm vindictive and like crazy. But then it's like when I'm like level headed and like, I can, I have empathy, and I sympathize with people. So I think it's just kind of like, well, just because you made me feel shitty doesn't mean like, it's not going to make me feel good making you feel shitty. You know what I mean? Like maybe like to be a little spiteful with like, oh yeah, like I fucked this really hot guy, but it's like, I don't need to make it a revolving door and a constant, like, obviously it's easier for girls to get a guy than it is guys to get like a casual sex situation.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
obviously.
But yeah, I mean, I'm on the apps, multiple apps. I've been talking to a lot of people. Obviously things are still fresh. So it's like, I'm not fully giving everyone my attention, but there are a couple people that are on the radar that like, I used to hook up with that are like, oh my God, you're single again. Like, I want to see you. Or, just guys that are just like, I don't give, cause like I've been disclosing to a lot of the guys, especially the young ones, like, hey, my ex lives with me. Like, just not, just so you know, like if you're weirded out by it or don't want to be involved, no harm, no foul.
Sure.
But like also being transparent and none of them care. So yeah, so it's just a matter of like me scheduling time and, getting back into the swing of things and, all that fun stuff. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm just honestly so busy and I have so much personal shit going on in my life that it's like, again, it's not like about me just like making this a revolving door vendetta, like makes me feel like a piece of shit. But it's like, yeah, if I have the opportunity, I'm going to have guys over or girls, whichever.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Fun. And get back into the swing of things. It's just, but I said because my boss the other day was saying something about being in a relationship. And I said, I'm not trying to be in a relationship. I said, I'm barely out of this relationship. I said, I don't need to be like dating like for love. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to hook up with people and have fun once in a blue,
Yeah. You only have so many spare bedrooms. You can't lease them all out to these fucking losers. What the fuck?
I know, right? Yeah. One of the guys that I've been talking to for a bit, we've been talking on and off. And the guy that lives in Tampa, I was telling him, I was like, oh yeah, he still lives with me. He told me today, he was like, you're too nice. He was like, you just need to kick him out. He was like, I just want to come over. And I said, I don't care if you come over. Like, I was like, it's or your call. Like, I was like, if you don't want to, I said, I get it. And he's like, I don't care. It's like, all right, well, I'm like, because our work schedules are opposite, Koala and I's. So it's like his schedule changes all the time. So it's like, I never know when he's like coming, going on or off or whatever. Like me, I'm like, I work 7 days a week basically. So I'm just kind of always working or on call. So it's like, I think like, for him and I think we both will try to be respectful enough where it's like, we're not just like blatantly bringing people home when the other person's home, but it's like, if someone spends the night or comes over, towards the tail end of the night or whatever, like it is what it is. Like, it's just something that we're going to have to like process and get through. Like we haven't been through that yet. So like, I think for him, like I said, I think he tries to be respectful enough where he probably won't bring people home or won't bring them home often, or will try to do it when I'm not home. For me, like it's a little bit of a different dynamic because I own my place. Like I've lived here for 17 years and it's my place. It's my home. So I don't need to ask for approval or whatever. Like I'm always going to give them the heads up, like especially if someone's staying the night. But again, we'll see what happens when we get into that situation. Cause that's exactly what happened with the open relationship thing.
Right.
Like
yeah.
I had said to him, like in the beginning, cause he was like, yeah, I'm fine with you like hooking up with other people. And I said, are you? Cause I said, you literally like punched a hole in my bathroom door because you thought that like I broke up with you and left when I literally was just getting my eyelashes done. So I was like, I said the same, like, that's not the same type of energy is my point. So I was like, are you really going to be okay when I sit there and say to you, hey, I'm going to go out and fuck this guy, you know? And he was like, no, I'm not going to like it. And I said, right. So it's like, you know, he can sit there and say whatever he wants at this point in time, or think whatever he wants of like, oh yeah, like if she brings a guy home, it's going to be whatever. Like, I'm just shutting it off because we're not in a relationship anymore. It's not my business. It's still going to hurt.
Yeah, it's always way different when you see or hear it. It doesn't matter if it's a current, if it's an axe, it's whatever. Like the first time you see or hear it, it's like a fucking huge sword like through the throat, and it fucking sucks. Okay, final question for you. You know, truthfully, right? Final question for this installment, but because I feel like there's more to come, which is great. But how do you ideally, right? How do you ideally see or want the situation to come to an end once and for all?
You know what? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I'm barely like, I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm going through a lot of stuff personally with like my DUI. I have a lawsuit going on. And it's just been like, it's been a hell of a year. I'm hanging on by a thread. Like I'm laughing and acting like I'm fine. I'm not. I cry all the time. I'm like always a fucking train wreck. Like I'm just like, I literally look at myself in the mirror sometimes and I'm like, I don't know who I am or what's happening. So at this point, I'm just like literally taking it day to day. I mean, ideally, I would have liked this to work out. You know what I mean? But like, we're beyond that. I don't think, I mean, even with everything that's been said and, you know, all of that stuff. And, you know, I'm sure in hindsight, like I said in the beginning, like I'm going to probably regret some of the things I said or maybe how I shared them because some things are taken out of context or it's not the full story or whatever. Obviously it wasn't all that bad if I stuck around for 2 years and I'm still letting him live here and, you know, have some type of like friendship with him and whatever. Like I still care about him, you know, I don't think he's a bad guy. I just think that he's done bad things. And I think that's, you know, we've all done bad things. We all lie. We all do bad things. You know, it's just, we're the hero in some people's story. We're the villain in others, you know, and there's been things that he's done that make him the villain in mine, but he also was there for me when I went through my DUI and all of this other shit. So it's like, that's not forgotten, you know? So, and I get that too. Again, it's like a lot for someone at 23 to deal with when, you know, your 36-year-old girlfriend is having a fucking mental breakdown and like wants to jump off her balcony every day. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a lot for him to handle too, because that's not like what he signed up for. So I see both sides of it. I mean, I would love for us to just be like amicable and, you know, just be there for each other, even if it's not romantically, you know. I just wish that we had done that sooner instead of getting to this far and then damaging a lot of stuff that we have, you know, because it's sad. I say that all the time. I'm like, it's just so sad because I was like, we were so happy in the beginning and everything was like fine. And then now it's just like, we've both said and done so much fucked up shit. And it's like, it's just so hard to like come back from that, you know, like it really is. So I just like, at this point, I just want both of us to be happy, you know, and whether that's with each other in some capacity as friends or whatever, or not, like, you know, time will tell, but, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't think he's a bad guy overall, you know, we just, wrong. I think it was like right person, wrong time kind of thing. Like, I think he just has like,
I mean, and
figure out before, you know.
Totally. But like, you're also doing the best that you can with everything that you have and all the shit you've been dealt with. So like, you know, give your fucking self a break, first of all, right? I mean, you know, I'm always going to say that shit to you because it's like, life is fucking hard, man. Like, and then you complicate it with whatever. So give yourself a fucking round of applause and an extra glass of wine and, you know, potentially let yourself have some fun where you just turn that off or whatever, because you're only doing the best that you can. And I know some of the things you've gone through and it's not fucking easy. What I want to do for people who want to, like, maybe they want to link up with you and like reciprocate, like, hey, like, I was going through this thing or whatever, like, where can people find you? Where can people like follow you? Will the podcast be back?
all the good stuff.
Yeah.
So if people want it, my personal Instagram is Steph C. Smith, and my podcast Instagram is Dirty Blondes Pod. The podcast, I don't think I've released an episode since January of last year. So it's almost been a year since I've released an episode. I fully plan on getting back into it. That is one of my goals. That was kind of one of the reasons why I reached out to you, because I know you've been so consistent with everything. And I was like, all right, let me get back into the swing of things and, get the rust off the wheels, because it's definitely been a minute since I've been doing this. If you can't tell from the chaos of this episode.
No, they love it. Whatever.
But yeah, I'm definitely going to bring it back. My podcast, it's, obviously anecdotes and, stories and experiences about myself, but I still want to do the educational thing to kind of like feed into the whole, like, me getting my self-esteem back and the body positivity stuff. Like I was toying around with doing an OnlyFans again. I had toyed around with that a while ago, and that never made it off the floor. So I'm thinking about kind of launching that when I launch the podcast again. I haven't recorded anything, but stay tuned. It'll be Dirty Blondes Pod is Instagram, and you can find me on Apple, Spotify, if you want to listen to the old episodes, if you haven't. And yeah, I don't know. I try to check my DMs as much as I can, and whatever.
Yeah.
But that's where everyone can find me. Instagram is like my main platform. So.
Well, we will have you back for a big, first of all, you're welcome any fucking time. You can come and talk about fucking whatever.
I on your podcast once a week. I love
exactly. And you're welcome to, right? And so, and also like whenever if you do drop the OnlyFans, when you do fucking do the pod, we'll do a big episode about that. So thank you so much for fucking coming back again, and tying the record for most appearances on Sex Party.
I'm going to beat the record. Just give me another month.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we will see you soon. Thank you so much.
Yes. Yeah, of course. Talk to you guys soon.
Big thank you to Stephanie Smith for being here once again, opening her life, sharing her experiences. I'm a bit frustrated. Are you guys frustrated? Let me know in the comments. Do you think this saga with Stephanie and Koala is over? There's some things coming up. Can't say anything right now, but you'll see soon. If you guys are loving guests like Stephanie, if you want to see Stephanie again, believe me, you will. And you're still on board with all my craziness, right? You want to show some love, some appreciation, some desire for more Sex Party. How do you do that? Well, if you're listening on platforms like Apple and Spotify, you could subscribe to the show. That is the most important thing you could do. New episodes every single Wednesday. If you're watching on YouTube, do you guys remember that band, late 90s, early 2000s, the Bare Naked Ladies? They had like a string of hits. If you're watching on YouTube, I love you. I see you. I appreciate you. If you're watching on YouTube, you can comment on this video. You could subscribe to the channel. That's the most important thing. And as always, you guys can reach out to me in the DMs on Instagram, and I'll see you all right back here next week.
Thanks for listening. The party continues next week. Click subscribe and let's make this a regular thing. Follow the show on Instagram and Twitter @SexPartyFM. Follow Dustin @DustinRybka.